going to start the presentations now. Did I get yours? I didn't get yours? Okay, well, I'll get yours. We're going to start the presentations. If you need to use the pointer, there's the little infrared thing that you may want to use, because that's the only thing. Give me 1 second. Okay, go ahead and grab a seat if you could, and Rebecca is going to start for us.
Advertising spend by industry. We're going to compare August 2008 versus August 2009. So we're going to transition to Chin Fu, who's going to explain what exactly the bars on our chart represent today.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. And thank you, everyone. So here is what we got from the data. And let me explain about this chart. Okay, so here's the title, the growth. Actually, it's the growth of the spend in social media advertising of all these industries. Okay, let's try this. And here, which is the money, and what's the difference between the August 2008 and August 2009? And here we got industries. So here we got all kinds of industries. So here, for those bars we got how much difference between August 8 and August 2008 and August 2009 about their advertising spend. So here we found that for all the industries, the spending is growing, and especially for those top 3 industries. Here we got web media and telecommunication and entertainment. Okay. Okay, so here is the top 3. So that's all the story we try to find from those data. Okay. Again, thank you, my team, and thank you, everyone.
Good. Excellent comments for this team. What, Olga?
Yeah, I like the way how they explain that. They didn't concentrate on every kind of advertising. They just explained it in general.
Okay. Good. What was their conclusion?
Sorry, I forgot to break it down.
Matthew R.
It was kind of unclear.
Kind of unclear. Did anyone get a clear conclusion?
Yeah, they spent money, and there was 3 that spent more money than the rest, but.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say there wasn't really a clear conclusion. They did a great job of explaining what this graph represented. So we were able to follow the numbers, and then when they pointed out these top 3, I thought, okay, maybe we're getting at an important, insightful takeaway. But I would venture to say there really wasn't a strong, this is what the data means, this is the conclusion. Even the top 3, you didn't say, all right, I want you to remember going forward, the top 3 industries we need to watch are web media, telecommunications, and entertainment. That would have been a little bit more powerful. Would it be even more powerful than that is if you could explain what these 3 had in common? That would have been another insightful takeaway. Any other comments? Yes, Jim?
I think it would have been helpful to have the 2008 numbers. I guess these are just the 2009.
It's the difference.
Oh, okay, never mind.
It's a difference. Okay, so there was confusion. I thought Chin Fu did a good job of explaining that it was the difference. I understood. Apparently, a few people didn't quite understand what it is, and it is important they understand. I guess that's all I have about that. It could have been. I thought it was clear. Could have been more clear. But I thought you were really going somewhere with the way that you set that up. You said this is the difference. So let's focus on the growth, the difference. And I thought you're gonna expand on that point. But didn't as much as I would have liked. Any other comments?
I think it's always better to benchmark, so if they had the 2008 numbers, it would have shown a better, like, probably a better representation of how much growth.
Okay, so that's fair. And of course, this was I didn't ask you to spend a whole lot of time on this assignment, but the comment was made that if you had 2008 and then maybe you superimposed 2009 over that in a way that we could see the growth, that may have illustrated it. But I might say that still might leave me scratching my head a little bit. Now it's clearer to me that this is the growth, but still I want to know what that means. What that means for where I should invest, what that means for where I should look for a job, what that means for my grandchildren's future. All right, so let's move on. I've got it right here. Who would like to go next?
We'll go.
Okay. Is this you guys? Is this you?
No.
Oh, this is someone else? Okay. And this is...
That's the one.
There you go.
We're all animals.
Okay. Good. How do you want this? Do you want it like this?
Just zoom that.
Zoom out.
Just bring it out a little bit. We're like 100%.
Here, I'll let you go like this. And if we could, I know, and folks, I know that you may be trying to tighten up some details of your presentation, but if you could direct all your focus to the person who's presenting, it can be a little nerve-wracking. There's little bits of chatter going on, and we of course want to benefit from the way they're choosing to present. So really focus all your attention up here.
So we have our data showing advertising spending August 2008 versus August 2009. Put this in a graph form so you can clearly see the difference. Looking at it from a pure numbers standpoint, web media, telecommunications obviously spent the most, but we'd like to focus on more of a percent change. Looking at entertainment and travel specifically, entertainment's advertising budget increased by over 800%, and travel over 350. The conclusion that we drew from that was a rapid rise in the use of Twitter. In 2008, Twitter was experiencing roughly 300,000 tweets per day. In 2009, that increased to 2.5 million, so roughly a 700% increase. Entertainment kind of goes hand in hand with Twitter, in our opinion, between celebrities tweeting very easily to disseminate information regarding movie releases, things like that, and travel as well, like people tweeting where they are, putting up pictures of vacations, and also the increase of travel websites and the availability to link into them, book travel right on the spot. So again, we like to focus on percent increase and the rapid rise in Twitter use to explain these numbers.
Good. Comments for this team? Arpit?
It was really good. They had a conclusion to it while they're actually presenting the data, and they went through it thoroughly. And once they went through the data itself, you can come to the conclusion that Twitter is the main reason why there's so much increase in spending in advertising social media.
Yeah. It was clear that he had a conclusion, and it seemed like an interesting and insightful conclusion. I'm still trying to get my head around. It's like I heard it, but I'm still trying to get my head around it. Can someone explain what the takeaway was, the clear conclusion?
The growth in the number of tweets is what caused.
So, I can't hear.
The usage in Twitter grew like rapidly from 700% or something from 2008 to 2009. So he said that's what drove the increase in social media.
I can't hear you. That's what drove what?
That's what drove the increase in social media ad spending.
Social media for what?
Ad spending?
For which industry?
I think he spoke generically, I don't think he spoke.
Okay, all right. So that was not their conclusion.
We focused on the two largest.
Yeah, okay. That was not their conclusion, but they were focusing on the two largest ones. They said, I want you to understand entertainment, and I want you to understand why travel grew exponentially, and it was something to do with Twitter. So there's a little, definitely misunderstanding there. Can someone take that a little further and explain what their conclusion was?
So I think their conclusion was that Twitter is the main factor why there were increasing spendings in entertainment, I believe, travel, and that was because there's ease of spreading information. So with travel, it's along here, people see that. There's also advertisements that you can kind of just book your travel from Twitter. Or entertainment is like, in terms of the actors promoting their own movies on Twitter, it's easier to do that. And that's where the increase occurred. They kind of said the biggest increase were in these two or these three industries, and here's why.
Okay, so the biggest, and let me tell you, so the biggest increase was the biggest percent increase, not raw increase, was entertainment and telecommunications. The reason why is because that was the year when Twitter just blew up. So these two industries looked at Twitter blowing up and says, gosh, we need to advertise on Twitter because we are an entertainment industry company and Twitter's where we should be advertising. We are a travel company and everyone's tweeting their travel. That's where we should advertise.
It's not necessarily just Twitter, but like entertainment's like, completely tied to social media, and travel, is completely tied to social media, and people posting pictures of where they go and things like that. So that's why those two makes the most sense that they would spend the most money, or increase their spending the most on social media platforms.
Okay, I know you may be trying to help. You're only confusing me more, though. But I think I got it. The way it's finally made sense in my head.
It's so hard to pull a real in-depth analysis in 15 minutes.
Okay. So I would say that is an interesting, exciting conclusion. It could have been more clear. How could it have been more clear? In conclusion. Now he did say, it's funny, he did say this is the conclusion, and I had no doubt that that was the conclusion, and I had all the words. I just wasn't able to get my head around it. Yes?
I think maybe if he said, I'm trying to remember everything now, but based off of these projections and the trends that we're seeing, the investment should rely heavily on social media, accounts such as Twitter, where da-da-da-da-da. If you follow this trend, from the patterns that we've already shown and proven to you, I believe that you will come out on top.
Okay, good. One thing I might suggest is this team could have just shown this graph and this graph. We have a lot of information here, and our eye might be drawn to this web media here, or this telecommunications. That stands out as the biggest amount and a fairly significant biggest change from raw number standpoint. But these 2 points are a little buried in the way this is presented. And also I would say this stuff right here, I don't think he referenced this at all.
I referenced the percent change, which you get from that table
And it's highlighted.
right there. And we highlighted the two that we wanted to reference.
And he said that this was all presentation.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
I even said, looking from a pure number standpoint, it may be easy to misinterpret this, but we look at a percentage standpoint, these two increases.
Okay, fair enough. I hear you, and I want to respond to that in a minute. I just want to finish my point that I think isolating these 2 points visually on the graph would have helped me understand the conclusion. The other thing I'll say is, do you remember his body position when he started off this presentation? Matthew?
He's kind of talking at the screen.
Yeah, he spent the first 30 seconds talking at the screen. And that was prime time. We're focusing on him right at the beginning of the presentation. What's going to happen? What is he going to say? And he spends the first 30 seconds just looking at the screen. You could have used that 30 seconds to say the important takeaway from this is this or that about Twitter. You could have also said, you could have also given us context. This was interesting because we all are working with the same data, and you might have assumed that we all know what this data is about, but I feel like not introducing the context hurt your presentation. Would anyone agree with that? Say, this is the world we're looking at. This is the year. This is what I'm going to think about trying, this is what I'm going to try to say. I think that sort of introduction, facing the audience, would have helped us understand that what I think is a very interesting conclusion. And to your point, you did say all of those things that I at first said I didn't hear you say it, but you said, yeah, I said all of those things. But I think presenting it that way would have made that conclusion more effective. But I love that conclusion though. And I think this is a great exercise in looking at how we would present a really interesting conclusion more effectively.
I had a question. So I know they highlighted entertainment and travel and the biggest percentages. Couldn't they just have stated that and we would have believed it? That the differences are that.
Oh, you mean like not
Just
showing
using
that?
the graph itself and saying, okay, well this industry had the biggest.
Oh, you mean like not showing the table?
At all, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I started to say. But I didn't think they referenced that at all, and they could just
The
cross that
graph
out.
on the right is just the monetary difference, it's not percent. So I guess it makes sense what you were saying, and it's not super clear because our conclusion was based off the percentages, and we also show a graph that just shows monetary increases. So that chart was not necessary, but the table was necessary.
Okay. So, Carrie team, ready to go?
Carrie, that box is
All right, well, Terry.
Okay, good evening. All right, so one word for you guys. Gentrification. Gentrification takes over a lot of industries. It's happening right here downtown North. And my colleague and I are going to talk about 4 industries in total where we feel that gentrification has taken over, and we're going to tell you where not to invest your money. I'm going to talk about hardware and electronics. Okay, I'm going to talk about hardware and electronics. When you look at the hardware and electronics, you can clearly see that they're very low. They're the lowest up there. You can clearly see that industry and economy is not investing into them. They have died off. When it comes to hardware, hardware has been taken over by gentrification. There are no more mom and pop stores. It's taken over by big industry like Lowe's, Amazon. The same thing goes for retail goods, and my partner's going to talk to you about, electronics.
It's okay, you can keep going.
This is too. Okay, the same thing goes for electronics. That's also online as well. There are only a few stores where people buy electronics from. Those stores, people don't buy from Sears anymore. Those stores might be Best Buy mainly, Walmart, or also online, Amazon. My colleague is now going to talk to you about retail's goods and services.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Carrie. Just one thing, if you look at the data, can you tell me the years of that data? When was it from what? 2008 to 2009, right? I mean the homework that you got. Okay, so what happened in 2008 in September? What happened? Okay, there you go. So something really big has happened, and that had a super big effect on the retail goods and services industry. They were mostly doing what? Trying to recover, like every other industry. And we know that Facebook, Twitter, and that time we didn't have Instagram yet at that time. Facebook and Twitter were just up and running, and we see these entertainment, travel, all those mobile industries are all doing very, very well. But literally with Lima has mentioned was that there were many people that, because they got hit so hard with the financial crisis, that they started to do many of the retails and the services stuff at home instead of going out to shop for them. So for example, they might have bought a cheaper shampoo, but they might have did their nails themselves instead of going to, or do the haircuts by themselves. So with that happening, the retail's goods and services had to actually adopt certain plans to how to get their customers back into their stores. And this is why they did not focus so much on social media until very late. So with that being said, our conclusion is that because of what happened in the financial crisis and the consolidation of different stores, each supermarkets have matured and depleted. So there was not a lot of investment on the social media part. So thank you very much, guys.
All right, good job. Comments for this team?
No comments, please.
No comments, please. Priya.
I didn't get the point on gentrification.
Okay, so the point, no you may not. The point on gentrification was a little unclear. What else?
Well, she was presenting, you were distracted.
Okay. All right, so that's tough sometimes when you have two presenters and the person behind you that was just doing a little bit of nervous twitching. Okay. All right, so we definitely want to be incognito. All the focus goes on the person who's presenting. Try not to move. Fair enough. What else?
You mentioned the years on which the percentage change.
Yeah, okay. So that was a good attempt to involve the audience, I think, that just fell flat. It not only fell flat because he didn't he didn't even finish the question. Really, he said I've got a way of involving you, but it's not a good idea, so I'm going to stop. Okay, so good attempt. We just want to think about being fluent with that. All right, so we didn't quite. Did anyone get the point on gentrification? Did anyone get the conclusion at the end that Carrie summarized? Can anyone explain that to us, Blake?
Why there was little spending on advertising in those industries.
Okay, there was, and why was there little? So there was very little spending on advertising in those industries. Why?
They were least impacted by social media.
They were the least impacted by social media. Is that what everyone's got? Yeah, I think it was because of something to do with the financial crisis. Can you explain it for us, Michael? The conclusion?
So because of the financial crisis, we weren't able to spend money in that market.
Okay, so all right. So because of the financial crisis, these two industries were not able to spend money. I think that's the conclusion, right? Comment, Michael?
Part of it for retail goods and services, if people were doing things on their own, not going out for certain services. I think you mentioned like doing your nails at home or cutting your own hair.
Okay. Okay, so financial, it's the recession, people are going to do their nails at home rather than going to retail goods, hardware and electronics. So, did you have a comment on that?
I was actually just going to say something similar.
Okay. So, my concern with that conclusion is that this is just spending on advertising. So it doesn't necessarily say these industries are going downhill. And it's just spending on social media advertising. Maybe they're doing a bunch of advertising elsewhere. Maybe hardware and electronics were having a banner year in 2008, 2009. So I didn't really believe that conclusion. Anyone want to weigh in on that with me? Does anyone think it was Rebecca?
I sort of, and I don't know that you said this directly, but I sort of inferred that when he was talking about, so if people aren't going to get their hair cut, then if the business is not getting as much sales, they might have to cut spending on things. They cut their ad sales and hope that they still have some oil cut. That's where I thought he was going with it, at least.
Okay.
They cut spending.
Okay, Al?
It kind of made me think, well, people are they're not not spending as much in those areas, then they're probably not spending as much in other areas, but why is there a lot of spending in the other areas?
Oh, okay, so you're like, you said, this is fine, right here, concentrating on this, but what Ali wants to know about is this huge increase right here. And I think that's a fair point. You concentrated on something that isn't really impressive from a visual graph standpoint. Matthew?
I think it was a difficult assumption considering a crash can affect all of industries in some type of way. So I focused on just those two.
Okay, yeah. Does anyone think they did a good job explaining why the financial crisis affected just these two industries? You think they did a good job? So too.
Well, I think they did a good job explaining it affected these two industries, but they didn't differentiate, or they didn't make it clear that it didn't affect the other industries as much.
Okay, good.
Probably the biggest one that was affected was auto and when that grew, there was no reason that the others, there's no reason the financial crisis should have affected these. They should have probably spoken about the other industries.
Okay, so it left us wanting that. I would say, and I'll give you the last word on this. I would say that this group fell into the trap of trying to explain too much. There are too many interesting things going on. There was this gentrification concept that they could have explained how these industries were affected by the financial crisis, which resulted in gentrification. There was some interesting things going on with the financial crisis and industries that were hurt more. And specifically, they made assumptions and statements about these two industries not doing well. So they tried to fit a lot into their presentation. And it was just confusing because it didn't have that clear central focus for us. That would be my assessment. Halima, did you want to have the last word on that?
Well, I just got a little confused. I'm just a bit confused because we were questioned, or a comment was made that why didn't we focus, if I'm understanding right, on entertainment or something else, the ones that were doing better? I was under the assumption that we could choose the two or one that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so what I think the point was that visually when we look at this graph, we want to know what happened here.
But so wait, are you saying, because as I looked at this graph,
What I'm saying?
as well as other graphs, I was just thinking that if you're just focusing on two industries or one, that you could just have that up there and not everything else.
And that's what I would have done.
To me, that's what I would.
That's exactly what I would have done. I would have
okay.
not shown
What
this.
do you show us irrelevant?
I would have just shown this.
Okay.
Because you showed this, it made us wonder what was going on here. And we talked about the sales data example I went through. Depending on the story you want to tell, you choose the type of graph, and you can choose which type of data to include or not to include.
If you show only those two, it's still like 60 or 70% growth, which is pretty good, right? So how do you explain that those industries are not doing well if that's their conclusion?
I'm sorry, one more time?
So when you look at the data, the growth is still 60 or 70% over the last year. For those two industries, that
The bigger one?
The smallest one.
Okay.
So how do you explain that they're not doing well? I mean,
Oh,
it'd be difficult to show only both.
Okay, so it was 60 to 70%,
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah, at least.
So those small. Let me pull that up again. Oh my God. So this, yeah, my gosh. So this, and I didn't even think about that. So their conclusion was that these two industries were hit by the financial recession, and somehow gentrification happened because of the financial recession, and it affected the growth in these two industries. And they gave a very sour outlook on these two industries. But guess what? As Siddharth just pointed out, these industries had growth in spending 60%. That's a lot. Now, I think I love the attempt in trying to include a lot in this presentation, and this is what this exercise is about, to try to see how you can manage all this interesting stuff and present it effectively. And like I told you before, I designed this specifically, it's a trap. It's a trap to try to include too much, and thank you for illustrating how that can bring about some difficulties. Okay, and this group, is this the group? The second? This you guys?
No, we didn't go yet.
Oh, okay.
I think that's ours.
Is this what you need? You need this one?
That one, yep.
Oh, this one. Okay. All right. So do you want me to zoom in, or you zoom in, or?
I'll figure it out.
Okay. All right. Christian has got it.
Hi everyone, my name is Christian. Our team looked at the data that we were given for the monthly spending per industry for various companies on social media year-over-year basis for the month of August. And what we looked at specifically was the percentage increase per spending per industry. And by looking at the data, you can see that overall, every industry showed significant growth in spending on social media advertising, and we equate that growth across the board to the rapid expansion of social media in today's society. 2008, if you look at the raw data, there was a significant spending, but 2009, with the ever-increasing growth of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything grew across the board. Specifically, entertainment and travel, which had the most significant growths in spending, and we equate that mainly to the demographics of who uses social media. Social media users tend to be of a younger age overall, and we believe that these industries want to target their key demographic for entertainment. Younger people are more likely to spend on entertainment as well as travel. So we see the overall growth significant of the overall growth of social media itself, but specifically in those two industries because of the demographics, which companies through market research are targeting key demographics.
Good. Excellent. Comments for Christian's team? What was, go ahead.
I thought it was good that you focused on the two biggest ones that catches everyone's eyes, as well as it was clear in his conclusion that it was the demographics that caused the increase of the spending in social media.
Yes. Yes. So what was his conclusion or conclusions? Who can sum up Christian's, Michael?
That a younger demographic is using social media, and the entertainment and travel industry are targeting that specific demographic.
Okay, good. Was that his only conclusion?
That's the one that I took away.
There was one other conclusion. Does anyone remember what it was? It was what he spent the first half of the presentation on, Danny?
Just talking that in general, social media spending is increasing just because those industries and social media outlets are
Yeah, so there were two conclusions. One, in general, massive increase in social media spending. Two, these particular industries because of the demographics of who uses social media. I thought that was handled well. It was very effective. My only concern was, as you spent that first half of the presentation explaining the first part of your conclusion, I was a little nervous about where you were going to go with that. So my thought is, you could have told me at the beginning. I have two things I want to tell you. One is that there's a significant increase overall, and I want to zero in on two industries where there was this particularly large increase.
This is a point where you can use the whole graph and it's not too much information.
Yes, yeah, I would agree with that, especially by the time you got to the end. I was concerned at first because it seemed like your conclusion was just an increase overall. So while he's explaining there was an increase overall, I'm looking at these 2 points. I'm thinking in my head, wait, what about these 2 points? That's what's interesting about the way he's presented this visually. So it was just, you could have lost me there, but I think you handled it well, and you presented it effectively. Any other comments?
I was a little, not confused, maybe surprised by the title, year over year. I wasn't sure if the word over was the best choice. Maybe also if you put 2008 versus 2009% increase, maybe that would be more effective.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Good. All right, so just one, you guys, right? You haven't gone. Everyone else has gone? Let me pull up your presentation. Big boys?
Yeah, big boys. You do presentation mode.
Clicker, you have a clicker if you need a pointer? Got it. Okay. All right, if we could, can we please everyone focus on the presenters?
So I think it's safe to say that no one here is a loser, right? So I think everybody here has a form of social media, whether it be a Facebook, a Twitter, an Instagram, even Snapchat has stories of what's going on in particular cities and all that. So I'm here to tell you that all these industries know that too. So which is why they have a tremendous growth of the amount they're spending on those sites that you see every morning when you wake up and every night on your bed before you go to sleep. So I know it's tempting to look at web media because it's the highest one. They're spending over 25 million on advertising, but I'm here to tell you that the minimum percent growth for all of these companies was over 50% by retail goods and services, and the maximum was not the web media, it was actually the entertainment, which grew over 800%. And to tell you what this all means, Arpit, please.
So today I'm going to tell you that, so on the x-axis you can see it's monetary values, and the y-axis you can see all the industries that we're taking a look at today. And the impact social media is having on our lives is that all the industries are realizing that everybody goes on social media. There's so many people that are on social media that advertisements can have a big impact. Advertisements can reach many patients or many individuals. And by means of sharing, it's easy to share an advertisement. And the impact sharing and trending can have. So if your advertisement is trending, you're golden. Your company's gonna get famous, that ad gets famous. Also, it's easy to track how many individuals have seen that advertisement. It's harder to see when you have a banner ad on the road. It's harder to realize how many people have seen that ad. This way you can track how many individuals get to see the advertisement and the impact it would have on that consumer's decision. So as you see your spendings on social media, spendings in social media, you can see yourself online sales through social media as well. So if you're a consumer, if you're like Express or Macy's, if you advertise on Facebook or Twitter, and you see your sales go up online from the link, so if somebody clicks on the advertisement, it takes you straight to the Macy's website. If somebody's purchasing, you can track all that. So the reason why our team sees the big increase in spending in social media advertisement is because it's, one thing, it's easier to track how many people have seen it. Two is easy to see the return of investments, how much money you spent on it, and how many people actually clicked the ad and went to our website and bought material, bought our products. And three, that's just the way everything is going now. It's all going electronic, it's all on the internet. If you want something, you go to the internet, you don't go to the store.
And that's why we think every industry is spending a lot more money on social media advertisements. And that's it.
Good job, good job. Comments for this team? Jay?
So I think they did a really good job explaining what their conclusion was. The only thing is they focused a lot on the percentage change, and I think a graph showing the actual percentage change would have been a lot better than with the money change. Like, it doesn't really have percentage on the y-axis. If it had percentage instead of money,
Okay.
it would have.
Okay, so percentage change may have been more effective. So, and you think they did a good job focusing on their conclusion. Can you sum up their conclusion for us, Jay?
Oh yeah, definitely can. So, so their conclusion was that they started off with saying that even though the web media looks the largest, it's not really the largest, and that entertainment had an 800% increase in the change. Their conclusion was, and now I'm blanking.
Okay. Can someone else? Christian, conclusion.
The conclusion was that the reason social media spending has increased so greatly, drastically, is because companies can more easily track the effectiveness of social media advertising.
Yeah, that's what I would say their conclusion was. And notice in Christian's summation of the conclusion, he did not mention any specific industries. So their conclusion was the overall growth. And by pointing out different industries, that confused us. I would say that took us away from what your conclusion was, which is, okay, the conclusion is the growth overall. I was waiting for you to explain more thoroughly the two industries that you singled out. And given that your conclusion was just the growth overall, I would say lump them all together. Maybe show us one bar graph for 2008, one bar for 2009. Or a line graph. I guess a line graph wouldn't really work. I would do it some way like that. Because by putting all this together, it draws attention to the big changes here and here, and shows us that the change has been a little bit uneven. Begs the question, why web media, why telecommunications is more affected by the benefits of social media that you're mentioning. Any other comments?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing, as Jay was mentioning about the percentages, even I was finding where the percentages were, but they were not there. And secondly, first time the pointer was not used properly. We just mentioned retail goods and services. I was finding where retail goods and services. I was trying to point on the screen, but I was unable to find it.
Oh, when Matthew introduced it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. I just didn't know what the button was.
And I was trying to find where the pointer was.
Yeah, well, he had an interesting way of trying to relate to us at the beginning. What his introduction lacked was a clear overview of the graph, but then, who was the second person? Who was the second person? Was you? Yeah, Arpit explained the axes of the graph and the title of the graph, so that brought us in a little bit more. And I think where some of that confusion could have been lessened is a strong introduction of the graph at the beginning and why you're using raw numbers rather than percentages. And again, I would have put this all together and shows percentage increase or shows quantity increase. I think that would have helped that. But I want to talk quickly about Matthew's introduction, which did not include that, which could have lessened the confusion, but it did have some interesting things going on in it. How did we like the way that he introduced the subject? Definitely got your attention, Care?
Yeah, it was good. Started out with like a joke.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Priya?
But I wonder if you could have phrased it as, we're all cool here, right? Instead of, no, I hear it.
Yeah. Amol?
I think you related to the demographic of the audience.
Okay.
So all of us are.
Okay. Yeah. Blake?
I thought another conclusion you started off with is that only losers don't use social media.
Okay, so a whole nother conclusion. Are you saying that might have confused the issue?
No, I thought you started off with that as the conclusion, and he was going to explain that. And that was.
Okay, so do you feel that hurt his presentation? Because he didn't explain?
I was just making a comment.
Okay, okay. I thought it worked and it was interesting and was funny, but it was a little dangerous. Are you saying I'm a loser because I don't use social media? What if I don't use social media as much as the next guy? Or as much as the next person? All right, so some positive things going on, but also some things we can critique and learn from. Great work tonight. I look forward to your technical presentations next week. And see you then.
Just that one moment is.
I mean, I don't. 1 minute, I want Why am I spending building this dollar as part of the video?
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to. Oh
I'm gonna call the train.
Life is business.
Okay, here it is. Here it is.
No, but like, do you still get it?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. We may say later, don't worry about that.
Thanks.
I will, I will be up for